We get a shocking New York Rangers trade update as insiders reveal a blockbuster trade is imminent, sending Chris Kreider to the Anaheim Ducks as Pat Verbeek continues to try to build his team out to get back into Stanley Cup contentions. We're going to break down everything from the New York Rangers side, possible pieces coming back, and exactly why this works for the Anaheim Ducks later on this episode. Before we get into that, if you haven't hit that sub button, you're part of the 89%, and you're enjoying this daily NHL updates, if that's on the New York Rangers, the Anaheim Ducks, or even the Minnesota Wild, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. It's completely free. It helps us out a ton, and we'll keep you updated in this hectic off season that continues to get wild. But that, we got up straight to the first topic, Darius, where we've seen some reports coming out from Frank Schiavelli. Breaking news. Sources say the Rangers and Ducks are in advanced discussions on a deal that would send Chris Kreider to Orange County. Now, with this, there is no deal at the moment, but there's framework being worked. Both teams have irons in the fire today. We'll see Wednesday. Now, just throwing it to you, Darius. What is your thoughts on this and the implications? And we'll touch on the Rangers side first with Chris Kreider going to the Ducks.
So this has major implications for not only the New York Rangers, the Anaheim Ducks too, which I think is very interesting. We'll start with the Ducks, and the reason being is because there was another report earlier this week that the Anaheim Ducks are prepared to back up the Brinks truck for Mitch Marner. So I think that this is a move that is signaling that they actually want to compete next year. They have a lot of young players, but I think they want to add Chris Kreider. They want to add Mitch Marner. That'll certainly help their power play, that's for sure. It helps their penalty kill, and it helps their 5-on-5 as well. And they're going to be a much better team if they are able to get both of those players. It's going to really accelerate their rebuild, and some of the younger guys are going to be able to learn from some guys that have been in the league for over 10 years, 10 plus years at this point. So I think that that's very interesting on the Anaheim Ducks side of things. Now, for the New York Rangers, Chris Kreider, longest tenured player. And, you know, with some of these details that have come out from Vince Mercogliano as well, he's not naming any players, but it sounds like it's a prospect and a pick coming back the other way for the Rangers in return for Kreider's full contract, which is another crazy part of this deal as well. A masterclass, it looks like right now at least, from Chris Drury. And it frees up a lot of salary cap space for the Rangers. Right now, they have $8.4 million in cap space. And you must be wondering, that's a lot of cap space. That's great. It's not that much cap space because you still have to sign Keandre Miller, or you trade him, and it's looking like they're trying to trade him. They also have to sign Matt Rempe. They have to sign, there is a lot of guys. They have to re-sign. Will Cooley had a career year. You got to sign him. So there's a lot you got to figure out. Zach Jones as well had a decent year. He's a decent prospect for them. So Adam Edstrom still needs a contract. A lot of moving pieces there. So they got to start putting things in motion to free up the salary cap space to be able to make these moves. And if you trade Keandre Miller, then you have to figure out your left side as well. And I think it's interesting when talking about prospects, the Anaheim Ducks have two guys that I think are, could be interesting for the New York Rangers. One of them is Olin Zellweger. He spent the whole year in the NHL. He had a decent junior career as well. So he could be an interesting option. He's not necessarily a prospect like Vince Mercogliano was alluding to, but could be an interesting idea. But one thing is for sure, Mark, it looks like the Anaheim Ducks are Chris Drury's graveyard for contracts that he no longer wants.
And I mean, the biggest thing is, look, moving on from this contract, it opens up the possibility for the New York Rangers. We're seeing reports that Jason Robertson, I should say, is one of the players that might be heading to New York. We're seeing rumors, reports flying around that this team wants to change things up to go into next season. They want to compete. They want to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. They want to hoist a cup. And moving on from this contract, after a bit of a disappointing year, you need to sign a lot of these guys. We're seeing rumors floating around. Keandre Miller might be shopped. Teams are calling on it. Will Cooley is a guy, like you said, that Rangers fans love and want back. But the biggest thing is moving on from Chris Kreider, who had a bit of a down year. We've seen him score 50 goals. We're going to get into how this fits on the Ducks. But looking at this, is there a world where you think they go out and they say, hey, we need to replace this goal scoring? 20 goals is still very serviceable. You can get a guy in the NHL that you can bring in. Maybe that's via trade, via free agency. Do you think they're going to be actively looking for his replacement?
Absolutely. And I want to touch on Jason Robertson because the fact that you bring that up, I think that Chris Drury from the outside looking in, for people who don't follow the Rangers, is insane. Once he fixates on a player that he wants, he will go out and get that player. So Jason Robertson is now available by all accounts. If he wants that player, he is going to make that happen. And I think it's very interesting. When you look at Chris Kreider, one thing to keep in mind when you look at his stats and the fact that, yes, he did have a down year, One thing to keep in mind is he had a back injury to start the year, which back injuries we know are just awful and really hinder your play no matter who you are. And then he played almost the rest of the season with some type of illness that he didn't even know what it was. He had vertigo. I don't know why he was still getting into games. That's a whole different conversation, but he was dealing with that. And then he essentially shattered his hand at the Four Nations faceoff and continued to play the rest of the season as the Rangers were trying to make the playoffs. So keep that in mind. He's still going to be a very useful player for the Anaheim Ducks, but there's a lot of factors as to why he should be moved off of if you're the Rangers. Obviously, everything that happened last year, a lot of his friends were moved out. There's a bit of an attitude with him and a couple of the other guys that are like, we want to be New York Rangers, but kind of under our terms, which I don't think is the case anymore, especially with James Dolan coming in and saying Chris Drury is my guy and signing him to a contract extension last year. But so Anaheim's going to get a very useful player that is older, but for the Rangers, it's time to move off of this player and free up salary cap space because now you're going to have 14 million. And I think it's interesting, Mark. Jason Robertson makes just over $7 million. You can fit that in now if you make this trade, but he's a UFA at the end of next season. You're going to have to sign him. He's a free agent. He's projected to make about $11 million. The one thing I think is very interesting and that kind of fits with the timeline is Artemi Panarin's contract, and he makes over $11 million is up next summer when you would be paying Jason Robertson. So this could be some tidy work to kind of compete next season and then have a goal scorer, a bona fide goal scorer, a 40 goal scorer, multi-time 40 goal scorer, and Jason Robertson on the team moving forward.
And that's the biggest thing. Rangers fans, what is your thoughts on this? Are you sad to see Chris Kreider going? Do you think they're going to weaponize this cap? Who would you like to see them go? Is it a Mitch Marner type? Is it a Robertson type? Go down and leave a comment down below what you would like to see. What would you grade this trade? Is it an A plus, a C? Let us know down in the comments. But let's get right into the Ducks side of this, where we do know they're getting Chris Kreider, who is one of the best net front presence in the league all time. Whatever you want to take. Looking at Jay Frisch, you can see that in net front scoring winger, big, solid, and still directly fast in a straight line, and can be a threat off the rush. His game took a slight hit this year in terms of goals and chances at even strength, but like you said, and like you can see on the screen, he can score goals. We've seen a 50-goal season, which felt like a bit of an anomaly, but he continued on scoring 30 goals, 20 goals. This does add depth to this team. Actually would sit tied for number 2 on goals for the Ducks this year. Darius, looking at this, we know the Ducks want to get back into contention. They don't want to continue this rebuild going year after year, not making the playoffs. We see reports of them linked to Mitch Marner. Do you think this help accelerates them before we get into the contract and that implications? Do you think this is a good fit? And do you think he could stay with this team for quite some time and continue building off these 20 to 30 goal seasons?
By all accounts, the Anaheim Ducks are going to make the biggest push monetization wise for Mitch Marner at this year's free agency when he hits July or when he hits free agency on July 1st. So that's why, a bunch of different insiders have that they're going to fork up the most amount of money. Look at the salary cap space that they have heading into July 1st. They're going to be able to do it. They can basically pay him whatever he asks for. So I think it's going to be interesting, right? He wants to kind of get away. I think he still wants to be somewhat competitive. But when you look at this lineup, they have a lot of really good pieces that can turn around if you add two more really good pieces in Chris Kreider and Mitch Marner. Like I said, it would help your power play. It would help your penalty kill. It would help your 5-on-5 play. It would help in all situations, right? And like you mentioned, Chris Kreider is a great net front presence. We know what Mitch Marner can do. He can basically take a team to the playoffs. What happens after that is still a question mark, but he can basically bring a team to the playoffs. So this would help accelerate the rebuild a lot if this is part one of what they're planning to do with bringing in Mitch Marner. And not only that, if you bring in Chris Kreider, who's a great player, right? And he's expected to have a really good season next year. Again, for the Rangers side, he's getting older. It might be time to move off him, but expected to have a good season next year. It's another piece that you can, kind of say to Mitch Marner, listen, we're trying to build a team here, right? We're adding Chris Kreider. We want to be competitive. We have a lot of really, really good young talent. Trevor Zegras, he, is expected to have a bounce back at least. You have Troy Terry there. You have a lot of really good weapons, and for Chris Kreider as well, you have that chemistry or kind of built-in chemistry with Frank Vatrano, who also played in New York for a playoff run as well. You have Cutter Gauthier, Leo Carlson, right? Like a lot of really good young players. But if you added two veteran players there that have been there, done that in the league, at least in the regular season, this could be a very quick turnaround for the Anaheim Ducks.
And I mean, the biggest thing is, look, you're looking at a team that, yes, you're taking on some salary, but a lot of these contracts do line up. Killorn and Kreider would finish at the exact same time in after next season, not next season, the season after. You free up money there, the caps are raised, and you still have the young core. You went through some of these guys, even on defense, goaltenders. John Gibson's up in 2 years. This is the perfect segue for this team to bring in veterans, build a winning culture, get into the playoff hunt. In 2 years, you can dish out this money to new players, younger players, sign new contracts. The Ducks are building something special over here. And Ducks fans, what is your thoughts? Would you be fine on moving on from a prospect and a pick to bring in a veteran like Chris Kreider to this lineup? Who do you think the prospect's going to be? And do you like the fit of him on this team? If you do, go down and leave a comment down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. We'll be back with another episode, so make sure to keep your eye out for that. But I'm your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.